this is Rich O'Toole. You're listening to the Garrett Smith Podcast. Tune in, baby.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, today's episode is going to start off with a little note of gratitude to all the parents who are teaching their kids at home during quarantine. Kids, pay attention when they're teaching you geography, and the reason it's important to do that is so you learn about time zones. And the reason it's important to learn about time zones, kids, is because today, yours truly messaged his guest and said, hey, just call into the show at 7:30 Nashville time, thinking that Nashville and Knoxville were in the same time zone. But no, 6:30 Texas time is 6:30 Nashville time, and I called in an hour early while our guest was on another interview. Thankfully, he was gracious enough to come back an hour later, and we got things kicked off and rolling with a really cool intro and some really good messages to all you Astros haters out there, only to realize that everything got deleted when my interface cut out for no apparent reason. But given the time crunch that we were in, our guest was still gracious enough to jump right back on and do this interview. So please help me welcome a friend of mine who has been on the Billboard charts, the Texas Radio Report charts, primarily in that top 10 spot more times than I can count, with several number ones, the American Kid, and because I'm a homer, fighting Texas Aggie class of 2006, Rich O'Toole.
Yeah, Giga Maggies, baby. It's great to be here, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, I'm glad you're here today. It's good talking to you. It's been kind of a crazy time out in Nashville recently. You know, how you been holding up with the coronavirus and everything?
Good. You know, a tornado hit our neighborhood pretty hard, and that was devastating. I spent about a week helping people put their lives in a house back together. But I've been inside. You know, we signed a record deal here in town with Average Joe's. They gave me my own imprint called Buffalo Rum Records, which I'm just kind of managing. And I have a staff, and we've been looking to sign some new people, and then putting out my record, which comes out June 26th. It's called New York. And we've just been hunkered down and just doing work, man, getting everything ready and ready to launch. And we're doing a cool house concert tour because obviously we can't tour.
Yeah.
Called Tacos the Tool House Concert Tour 2020. We're going to go to like 30 different cities from New York to Seattle and play in people's homes, and it's going to be really fun. So
that's awesome. Yeah, when I looked earlier and I saw that this is your 7th studio album that's coming out.
Yep, New York.
God, that's awesome. You are officially tied with Guns N' Roses, and you'll probably get another one out before they do, so congratulations on that.
They're such a big band, man. Those weigh way more than, yeah.
Well, it's really cool that you're getting this out there, and you know, any song that you've put out already that's going to end up being on the album, it sounded really great. And in fact, the other day I was listening to the California track, and it kind of, one thing I've noticed is that any album you've put out, it seems rather indicative of kind of like where you are in life, and you've done a lot of traveling over the past few years. So, you know, what does this record mean to you, and what has led to, you know, what life stories have led to this album? Yeah,
it's just I kind of just write about where I'm at in life, which, you know, from Texas country to Nashville, whatever it is, it's kind of a unique product in the fact that, like, I'm not trying to put a product out there to like sell you something. I'm just basically putting a novel of my life out there. So every record basically represents what I do, what's my life, and the stories are from that. So this record was I traded apartments with a girl named Kate from New York, and I lived there for about 4 months, and I wrote this whole record there, and it reflects that. And it talks about my ex-girlfriend-in-law. It talks about going through kind of adolescence in your early 30s. I was probably drinking a little too much. I was probably like messing around a little too much and having a good time. And I wrote about it, and it is what it is. You know, it's a chapter of my life, and it's called New York. And that's it. I mean, every album I put out is basically what I've gone through the past 3 years. So that's kind of what it is.
And it's hard to believe that it's already been 3 years since your last album, because I think of American Kid like, oh yeah, you know, that was yesterday, and I was like, no, that's it's been a few years. It's kind of crazy to think about.
I totally agree. Me too. You know, if I could put out a record, you know, every year, I would love to do that because I can write. You know, I like to write that fast, but it doesn't. It takes time, and it takes almost 6 months to put out a record the right way. And it's tough, you know, and it does represent. American Kid was such a great record. I thought I wrote that record, and I believed in it so much, and all of a sudden it's kind of in the back seat, and here we go with this new one. So, you know, that was a really good record. I still believe that's still one of my best records until New York comes out. Then I believe that's kind of a better record. I just don't know, you know.
It's always good to feel that way because it's like it'd be a little nerve wracking if it's like I can't live up to the earlier albums, but when you're putting one out that's like I think this one will be even better. I mean, it's always a good feeling to have going into the process.
This one's more vulnerable. I mean, this one is like when you hear it, you're going to hear the vulnerability from Dear Samantha to Kate. There's some really deep shit on this record that's like will explain what I went through in the past 3 years, which is like I don't want to talk about it, but it's really deep and it's it's a good record, you know.
Well, sometimes I guess music is the best way to talk about it. I mean, I'm sure a lot of it as songwriters is like we're better at writing it out that way than we are at actually talking. I can barely speak basic sentences, so here I am running a podcast. But I noticed when the California song came out, if you know some singers out there, you just kind of you can recognize their voice in a crowd. You know, you just kind of know who you're listening to. And you had Vanessa Lynn Bird and Julia Hatfield singing backgrounds on that. How did you line up with those artists and record with them?
Mack. I mean, Mack's always been a part of my music. Mack Damon over at Stone Creek Sound, and those two girls hang around the studio. They're always there, and of course I'm going to use them. I know Vanessa. I love Julia, and whenever we're doing harmonies, Mack calls them in to come in and do the sounds. I mean, so I'd say really organic. I mean, Anthony Diaz de Leon, Mack Damon, Ilya Jasinski, Justin Auslander, like guys that have been a part of my records since 2014 are always on the records, and that's why they sound the same. That's why they generate the heat, and that's what it is, you know. And so those girls have phenomenal voices, and I love them singing backgrounds in my track when I work with Mack vocally, and they're really good at what they do, you know.
Absolutely. Well, and they're all just great people. I mean, anyone I've met when I've gone down there to record, even if they're just kind of like walking in to say hey and walking out, everybody that I see go through Stone Creek, just great folks down there. And shout out Gabe Garces. Looking forward to getting down there and recording with him again. But you were talking about how kind of vulnerable the album is, and you've been pretty open about not just being a country artist, but you know, playing rock and Americana and just making it about the music itself rather than worrying about genre. And I think some people try too hard when it comes to genre, so it's kind of cool that you've taken that approach to it. But do you ever get nervous, or do people ever wonder how it's going to go if you came from a Texas country background or were one of the early artists on that scene, and then you've got songs about California on a record called New York while living in Nashville? I mean, does anyone ever give you flack for that, or you just kind of brush it off?
But I've been getting flacks for like past 6 years now, so I'm kind of over it.
That
people have been hit on me, you know. Garrett, people hate on me for a while, and it was something that I had to swallow and just get over it.
Yeah.
I don't know why, because I took a leap. I never wanted to. I'm from Houston, Texas. I'm born and raised Texan. I'm a Whataburger guy. I'm a Dr. Pepper guy. It doesn't mean I got to like be the next Kevin Fowler. You know, it's right. Like I did it. I bought the T-shirt. I took the ride. I love Texas. I've been down there. But you know, part of my soul as a writer is like I want to live every single part of the country. I want to write about it. I'm a songwriter. I don't need to be just stay in my hometown and fill my truck up for free at the Citgo because that's what sells music. I did it because I wanted to expand my wings and do it. Now, people in Texas country want to give me a hard time about that. That's on them. That's not on me.
Yep.
And I worked my ass off. You know that. I've done everything I could possibly do and been nice to everybody I could possibly do and do whatever I need to do to make sure that like I represent myself the right way and I care and that my songs get the best effort. And that's it. And if someone's a hit on that, then they're probably mad that they couldn't get out of their hometown or something. Yeah. It ain't on me.
Well, and it cracked me up
you know me, I'll still buy my beer. You can still hate me, and you know me. I'd still buy my beer and be like, what's up, man? You all right?
That's the whole Jack Sparrow thing. It's like, then you have heard of me.
Yeah, but so you have heard of me. Okay, cool.
And it cracked me up. Like anybody like on Twitter that says anything, because I mean, I see a lot of artists get flack, and I've seen people that, you know, if they're giving you flack or anything, I'm like, anyone that was talking trash when American Kid came out, they probably went home and listened to 90s country or Aaron Tippin, which sounded the exact same as American Kid. I'm like, people will talk without thinking all day long.
All day long.
Yeah, to me, it's kind of like if you don't branch out, you're never going to go anywhere. Otherwise, a scene can die out. And I've taken some flack because, dude, you try to put too much rock and roll in your music. I'm like, you're going to go home and listen to Co Wetzel. That's rock and roll and country. So I commend the approach you've taken with these last few albums. I mean, it's changed in a good way. It's not like there's nothing fake about it. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. There's nothing fake about it, and it has a lot of that kind of the 90s and current sound together. And so I think that really reflects well. No,
thank you. I appreciate it, man. And there's no hate to it. It's great. And you know, I'm here to support it. I'm a Texas guy. All I do is tweet about Texas music. All I do is tweet about Whataburger in Texas. I'm a Texas guy. I will have my back. I want to represent Texas. I plan on raising my kids back there. Like it is what it is, man. I'm just out here trying to make the best career I can possibly make, making great records. That's all.
And if anyone wants to say anything, let's see them create a Texmoji company.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. No, or have them just go out there and have the life experiences. I mean, what's their problem? You know,
right.
Because just because you don't want to, just because you don't want to leave your small town and some part of Texas and you want to be the hometown hero, you can do that too. That's totally cool. But don't hate on a guy that wants to go out there and expand his horizons.
True. Well, if we could listen to a track off the new album, let's check that out here.
Force
All right. So take me, kind of briefly through your story as a musician. How did you get roped up into this game in the first place? Early influences and things like that.
Man, it was straight up just like, I don't know, I was 14 or 15. I went and saw Robert Keane play the Verizon Wire Theater in Houston. At that time, I think it was called Bayou Place. Hold on. My FaceTime kicked in, sorry.
Oh. They're getting me back for what I did earlier.
That's fine. So I remember just like seeing Robert Keane when I was like 15 and 16, and I was playing baseball at the time, and I kind of hurt my elbow when I was 17 going into college, and I played guitar and I was writing music at the time, and I was like, man, I want to do that. I want to do what Robert Keane does because I loved his songwriting so much. So I went to A&M. I was writing a lot freshman year, and I started winning like songwriting contests, and I got to play the Dixie Chicken and the Tap. I put out my first record, and I got on tour with like Pat Green and Randy Rogers, and that kind of took me to where I need to be. So I kind of just went from there, man. Instead of getting a real job, I kind of I had a Camry that was paid off, and I gave it to the bank for like 11 grand, and I got a loan, and I just started my own company, which at the time was Rich O'Toole, and I never looked back.
And you've had a lot of companies that you've been a part of. I mean, like, tell us, like, how many entrepreneurial endeavors have you gone on? Because I mean, you've got the clothing line, you've had the emoji company, you've had
better
so
or worse.
many.
I don't think I've ever lost money, but 5 or 6. Yeah, we had Texas Groom, which we made money on. It got too hard. It was a great thing. It was like Texas brand clothing. Texmoji still does very well. Me and Bun B have Trollmoji out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Obviously Rich O'Toole Inc., which is everything Rich O'Toole. And then one other one would be that's about it, man. I mean, I haven't dabbled too much about it. I started a clothing line called 17 Army, which is like my personal clothing line, but I didn't dive into it too much. I've been very smart about my investments, and I put a lot of the money I made in music into real estate, which I get to live somewhat of a decent life from. But other than that, like, it's a business, man. I've just continued to try to make great records and put them out there.
Yeah, I mean, I would encourage anyone who's trying to get into a music career to do more than one thing. I mean, if you put all your eggs in one basket, it's going to be really difficult to, live off just music, at least for a while. Even if you make it big, it doesn't happen overnight. Yeah, it's really going to put those talents somewhere. Yeah. No, I think it's just like smart, and it's not going to be easy. And the music industry is like so hard to make a living out of. So you kind of want to make sure if you have an extra money a month, which I would have sometimes, I put it aside into real estate, and it's turned out okay for me on that end of it. And so I've been very fortunate, but you still want to, at some point, God, I mean, music is not, it's such an up and down. It's such a stock market. You don't know what's going to happen. It's just the coronavirus. Yeah. Everyone's out of business right now. I mean, dear God, that's crazy. It's crazy. I was talking to somebody a couple episodes ago how it's weird how suddenly we're all doing the live streams, and the small songwriters who started today are playing the same quote unquote venue as Cody Johnson. It's like, it's a really weird time to be doing it.
It's very weird for any time to do it, and yeah. It's somewhat selfish at some point. You put your family through hell. Mm-hmm. I was tough on it though. I mean, I gave, like I said, there was before GoFundMe's and all that BS. I put my car up to the bank. I mean, it was either I was going to pay off my Camry, or I was going to put out a record. Yeah, that was it. That was either go home, go big, or go home. Now kids are like, oh, go fund me 10 grand so I make a record. Well, I was walking, or I was making a record. Yeah. So I don't have any belief in that kind of stuff, because I had to do it the hard way.
Because you got your Aggie ring 2 years ago? Because that was another thing. You put everything into your startup.
I did. Even when I was putting everything into Texmoji or anything into buying a house, I never had money for an Aggie ring. There was not an extra $1,200 lying around until 2 years ago, where I finally got my Aggie ring. I mean, people forget about that stuff. Is like, I was raised poor. I was self-made, and people talk a bunch of shit, and they'll say, Rich O'Toole has family money. It's like, no, I don't. I'm from a single mother. She still works. I still work. I did everything from the ground up. Yeah. Straight up. I had to do it that way. It sucked.
Well, one question I had written in here for later, I'll ask now. You mentioned your mom. Anytime I've come to one of your shows, mainly just the shows I've been to in Houston, like, she's always there. And you can tell she's a super fan, very supportive. What has her support meant for you?
She just believes in us so much that I believed in it. And she's been there from day one too. I mean, she sacrificed so much on the fact that like she can't have grandkids right now because I'm still like pursuing this, and like I want to get married, and there's just so many hours into it, you know, to live a dream of country music. You have to give quite a sacrifice to yourself, to your family. She never gets to see me. I'm always traveling, I'm always touring. I see her a lot. I take her out to dinner and lunch, and we're best friends. But you know, she'd much probably would rather have it that I got a real job and I live down the street from her and I had kids by now and yada yada yada. But you know, I chose rock and roll. I chose to put out records, and I'm gonna do it the rest of my life. And she knows that. We've had this conversation. I will, until I die, put out a record every 2 years, and that's just what it's gonna be, you know. But she's a great woman for it, and she's an amazing supporter and a great mother, you know.
But she's always been, anytime I've met her at one of your shows, she's always been really sweet to me and sweet to anyone else that walks up and comes and talks at the tables and everything. So shout out to your mom, because that's really cool to have that support. And you know, just
she's a big heart, man. She deserves every second of it. She's a great human being. She's 100% behind me and has been my biggest supporter. So, you know, if I ever win an award, she'll be the one that gets it.
That's awesome. You know, mentioned a second ago college and kind of jumping right into business. I'm going to play here a deep cut, because sometimes I like to throw deep cuts into these episodes. And I'm going to play a song real quick called Krennic Tap Road.
Yeah.
Chipping off the walls, my feet sticking to the floors. Yeah, there were stains on the carpet, holding every single door. A dozen broken blinds, a beat up leather couch, a pair of worn out speakers, the radio blaring too loud. If the lights were on, it wouldn't be long until we had the party jumping again. Between the drinking games and the walk of shames, there was a place for all my friends. You know it came and went, but I'll never forget a place I once called home. Down on Krennic Tap Road. Target practice in the house, we're going skiing down the stairs. Well, the oven didn't make it, and neither did the kitchen chairs. Well, late nights on the back porch, we were too drunk and proud. Yeah, to call in the night when the cops said to keep it down. Well, if the lights were on, it wouldn't be long until we had the party jumping again. Between the drinking games and the walk of shames, there was a place for all my friends.
right, so the reason I play that song is not just because obviously I went to A&M, but I feel like anyone who did college right or just even lived out their young days with that one party house kind of knows that story anywhere. You know, it didn't have to be on Krennic Tap Road. It could have been any college town. But also, side note, my parents got engaged on that road. Of all your songs, you know, which ones mean the most to you from a personal relating standpoint? I mean, after 7 albums, that's probably a whole list, but...
Yeah. You know, one song that doesn't get enough attention is I Thank God. That means a lot. It's about me and my mom's relationship. American Kid, I would say Casino Lights or Take It From Here. Jaded would be Jaded. Jaded is such a great song about truth about me and, you know, a girl I really loved at one point. On the new record, be Dear Samantha, be Kate. Meet Me in Chicago, to I Love You, to I mean, there's just a lot. I have to go back and think of it. There's so many songs I've written that, you know, right now we're going back on tour. We're doing this like a house party tour, and I have to sit back and like relearn, you know, 45% of the songs that I just forget every year. It's tough.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I remember at one show, I remember you played Marijuana and Jalapenos, and you followed it up by saying, you know, be careful about writing a funny song or a dumb song or something like that, because that'll be the one everyone asks you to play. And I just kind of laughed at the time, but you know, one song I never play really is a song I wrote called Dirty South, just because it's so ridiculously stupid. And I still, every now and then, people are they'll come up to me after a show and be like, hey, are you going to play that one? I'm like, are you serious? Did it surprise you how popular that song got? Yeah,
of course it does. I mean, it's about marijuana jalapenos. I mean, I meant for it to get popular. It was cheap. It was a cheap vote in. It was cheap. You know, whenever you put out something cheap and fast, it's going to get hits. I mean, it's fried catfish.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, yeah, the coleslaw is probably better, but fried catfish isn't taste like that every single time. So, I mean, well, yeah, you can't argue about that. Just be careful not to write too many of them so you can sit there as a novelty or joke act. I still don't mind it. I still play marijuana jalapenos. You just want to try to put out enough good songs where people actually understand it.
Yeah.
And understand that you're a good artist, you know. Robert Keane does a fine line all that. You know, he's a song about barbecue and all that other BS, but he has amazing songs too, so.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I remember the first show of yours I ever went to was like 2011 or 12. It was, I think, at Midnight Rodeo in Austin, that one that's kind of like out, kind of to the side of town a little bit. And I walked in, and this is the first time I'd heard of you. And I walked in with a group of people who are like, you got to see this guy. He's really good. We walk in. The first thing I saw was your merch table, and there's a marijuana and jalapeno shirt. I was like, what in the world? They're like, dude, just wait. The song is awesome. So naturally, you know, we thought it was hilarious. And yet there are plenty of songs out there like the ones you listed a second ago that are, you know, written from the heart and really tell life experiences. And I think you've got that balance perfectly. Although I will say I thought it was hilarious this last year when you modified it to heroin and habaneros at a show.
Yeah, I'm always messing with that. I mean, we're there to. I mean, it's a joke, so we're there to get a laugh. You know.
Well, you've worked on quite a few music videos too. You know, what's that experience been like for you?
I like cinema, man. I like film. I was in LA. I was writing for different film companies and stuff, and you know, I do. It's fun to make your music turn to life and get actors and kind of cast something, and that's always been a love of mine. So,
which video do you think turned out the best?
Whatever one we had the bigger budget for. Jaded turned out amazing. I love that music video. We shot that in Joshua Tree. In a minute or two, Mack Damon did a great time with that. Marijuana Jalapenos was great. Drunk Girl was fun. Casino Lights was awesome. I love that song. American Kid was great. We filmed that in 30-degree weather in Galveston Beach. Take It From Here was phenomenal. We shot that at the diner on Katy Freeway. And we flew down this girl she's a model. What's her name, man? I always forget. She's from St. Louis. She's amazing. So we've always done great music videos. You know, we're going to have a couple that are come up this year alone too. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It's I think, you know, putting you know, movies to lyrics are fun.
That's cool. If we could play one here, which one would you pick?
Take It From Here. Take It From Here is great.
Awesome. Well, we will play Take It From Here.
Wear sunglasses even in the snow. Hides a beauty she doesn't even know. And so long with no only she would let me be the one to lead her home. Baby, lay your head down, let me take it from here. Put down your burden, let go of your fear. I know you got a lot on your mind, it's been a crazy year. So baby, lay your head down, let me take it from here. She works at the diner down the street, and I watch as she slowly drags her feet. I give her a smile when she fills my cup. If only she would let herself follow me to love. So baby, lay your head down, let me take it from here. Put down your burden, let go of your fear. I know you got a lot on your mind, it's been a crazy year. So baby, lay your head down, let me take it from here. Whoa, 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 dry your tears. Whoa, 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 let go of your fear. Let go of your fear. Whoa, 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 baby, I'm right here. 2 weeks now since she took my hand. Happy that she let me be one who understands. Baby, lay your head down, let me take it from here. Put down your burden, let go of your fear. I know you got a lot on your mind, it's been a crazy year. So baby, lay your head down, let me take it from here. Oh, baby, let your head down, let me take it from here. Put down your burden, let go of your fear. I know you got a lot on your mind, it's been a crazy year. So baby, lay your head down, let me take it from here.
In the very first episode I did of this podcast, this was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I had RJ Paxton as the interview. And we were actually talking briefly about how you interact with people on Twitter. And, you know, earlier on this episode, you kind of mentioned, you know, people are always saying one thing or another. And there's a lot of people out there that are negative with it. But, you know, you're also really good at just engaging any person off the street that tweets at you, you know, whether it's about tacos or it's about music or anything else. You know,
Right.
is that just something, is that intentional, or is it just kind of like, hey, this is my Twitter account, I'm just going to use it how I want, you know?
Man, it's intentional. I'm a human being. I don't feel that I don't need to put anyone above or below me. Even people that hate me, there's people that have hated me that are now fans of mine because I bought them a beer, I've talked to them over DM, I've talked them off the ledge. They were going through something, they used me as a scapegoat. I don't give a shit, man. I think everyone is a human being. Mm-hmm. And I'm an easy target. My last name has Tool on it, Rich O'Toole. I get it, man. I don't blame these people for hating me. But also, when it comes down to it, there's like nothing really to hate. I haven't really done anything to anybody, you know. And so that's the thing is like, I put out a good product, I put out good music, and I want people to enjoy it. And I'll sit there and talk to them about it. I got time. Everyone has time. You know, these famous. I have a lot of celebrity friends. And when they say they don't have time, they're full of shit. They don't do anything. Just sit around the house and they're bro, drink coffee or, you know, wine or whatever. They're full of shit. I have plenty of time, man. When I take a 20-minute break on my jog or what the fuck I'm doing that day, I get out and I write everybody back and tell them thank you. That's my job. They're paying my bills. Like, what else have to offer? You know, it's crazy.
Well, you know, I've told people, I was like, you and I interacted probably 10 or 11 times on Twitter before we actually even met. And that was at that Firehouse Saloon show back in like 2017. But, you know, you walked in the room and I was like, hey, you know, I'm Garrett Smith. We've talked on Twitter. And right after I said it, I'm like, you idiot. He talks to everyone on Twitter. He ain't going to know. You know, like, that's everybody. But, you're really good at just like encouraging your fan base, and that's something that I think people notice. And you mentioned people just say anything. The interview before last, I had Hunter Parody, who was the Barf Crow account.
Yeah.
And he actually brought up, he goes, dude, I got to tell you, one guy that took that better than anyone was Rich O'Toole. I was like, I believe it.
Yeah, of course. I don't even lose. I've been, you know what? I see myself as very blessed, man.
Yeah.
Like, look, I have my 7th album coming out. I live in an amazing house in Nashville. I just signed a major record. I have nothing to complain about. You could sit there. I got 100 tweets a day that say Rich O'Toole sucks. I have nothing to complain about. I am so blessed, and I've worked so hard to get where I'm at that I don't, man. I just want to help other people out. I want to help people in our scene out. I want to help Texas music out. That's it. I've been so blessed, man. I have nothing to complain about. So, like, if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, good riddance, man. I got it. I did it. It's been so much fun, and I have nothing but just good times ahead. So I don't, man. I think that people can learn in this scene about it. You know, Texas music has so much hate and jealousy that people just need to like take a step back, smile, and like have a good time with it. It's not that hard to do.
Well, you said, if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, and I'm kind of like, please don't, because when you got hit by a car,
I've already got hit by an Uber. I know.
Yeah. I was like, we've seen that happen before, but that was.
I survived. I'm pretty tough.
Well, for anyone listening that doesn't know, like that was right before I met you. I think you had just gotten out of the neck brace. Like it was a little while after that, but I had just started trying to put songs out there and kind of get jump started, and nobody starts overnight. Like it's a long process. And one thing that was kind of cool during that time was I had a couple people, that were like, dude, don't quit, just keep going. But you were posting a lot of videos, and there were some that were kind of like encouraging songwriters and just like saying, don't quit, just go for it. I'm like, okay, this guy's laying there in a neck brace saying don't quit, so I'd be kind of a wuss if I quit. So
yeah, you would be, yeah.
It was kind of cool that you put those out there, and then it was like getting to meet you after that. I was like, okay, well, this is cool. This is one of the guys that told me not to quit, and he didn't even know it. That was 2017, like you said earlier. It was kind of a crazy year. I was an American Kid. What kind of an emotional year was that? Because you had so much, it seemed like, that went on just in such a short time.
Anger. It's just like right now. I feel like I get screwed both times, but I have a good faith about it. Like, 3 weeks before American Kid comes out, I get into a neck brace. We had like a national tour ready, so I lost out. I couldn't tour for 3 months. I felt so robbed. Now, New York is coming out and this pandemic hits, so I can't really tour during the press. I feel like I was being robbed at the same time. Like, luckily I have great fans. I have social media. I can get out there and put it out there. And
yeah,
I felt robbed then. I felt robbed now. But hey, look, man, nothing in life is guaranteed.
No.
If only you have a roof over your head and like you're doing good and you got good friends and you're gonna put out good music, yeah, it is what it is. America's turned into so much of like, Karen at Walmart bitching about her fucking thing. It's like, shut up. You're crying with 2 loaves of bread on your arm. Like, just get out there and put out your record, and people like it, and do what you can do, and continue to create as an artist. When Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel, there was like a major revolution going on, a war outside. You didn't see him like painting sad shit.
Right.
He believed in what was going to happen. And I think we just continue to keep that attitude. Just gotta keep good faith. Create as long as you can create until God gives you that aspect or gift to do it. And if you don't, it is what it is.
That's so true. I'm a real big time strategy thinker. So, if something doesn't work, sometimes rather than take a hint, I'm more of like a, hey, how can I fix it and still make it work kind of mentality.
Yeah.
And in times like this, I told somebody else, I said, none of us can just put out an album and tour right now. And it's a bummer. But the cool thing is everyone is such a captive audience needing something new. The Tiger King is the top product right now of entertainment in 2020. Yeah. You can put out music, and I think people are thirsty for that. And then whenever, people are thirsty for live music, so no matter how long it is, once you go out there and tour, I guarantee you you're going to get as many or more people now as you would have if you just came out with the album. So
we dropped this whole in-house taco tour thing, and we already have 80 emails. We're going to do about 40 dates in people's houses, and This album is going just as great as it would be if it wasn't the pandemic. So,
That's
I'm not
awesome.
worried about it. I think if you keep a good faith and you put out good music, things will happen, man.
Well, hey, the best show I've watched all week was Post Malone and Travis Barker doing a Nirvana concert in dresses. Over
That's badass.
social
I need to
distance.
see that. I love him, man. I played guitar with Posty last month before this all happened over at Carter's Vintage.
He can sing.
He was really cool.
Yeah.
He was a cool guy.
Like, he starts singing, and I'm like, dude, he could just make a career being a rocker. I mean, he's super
He
talented.
wants to. When we jam guitar for a little bit, he knows his shit, and he wants to be like, into country rock. He does. That's where he's going into. So he's transitioning. But hear it now before you hear anywhere else. He's transitioning into like a country rock star.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'd watch it. Well, since I mentioned American Kid a minute ago, I'd be remiss if I didn't play it here. Plus, because it's my podcast and that's one of my favorite songs, I'm going to play it right here. This is American Kid.
Rolling down the highways, the turnpikes and the byways. Ain't afraid of nothing, gotta get me something. My lady's in the backseat, showing off her bare feet. Driving like it's stolen, rocking and rolling. We're coming in sideways and hitting the skid. Watch out for me, baby, you're American Kid, yeah. Kind of red, white, and blue running through my veins. Well, my grandfather's dad fought for this land. Bullet holes and 50 stars, 13 stripes across my scars. I do as my fathers did, I'm your American kid. Well, I ain't high class, but I ain't trailer trash. Trying to make a quick buck, running out of good luck. My eyes like an eagle, I'm rolling illegal, taking all the back roads, ditching all the po-posts, rolling in hot and flipping some lids. Watch out for me, baby, you're American Kid, yeah. Got red, white, and blue running through my veins. Well, my grandfather's dad fought for this land. Well, bullet holes and 50 stars, 13 stripes across my scars. I do as my fathers did, I'm your American kid. We'll save the drama for your mama, or blame it on Obama. Politicians reaching, pushing and impeaching the people of this land. Blue collar working man, gas prices got me down. Barely made it into town, armed with the Glock and a political bid. Watch out for me, baby, you're American Kid, yeah. Kind of red, white, and blue running through my veins. Well, my grandfather's dad fought for this land. Well, bullet holes and 50 stars, 13 stripes across my scars. I do as my fathers did, I'm your American kid. I do as my fathers did, I'm your American kid. I do as my fathers did,
Putting out this
I'm
album,
your
you've got the house
American
tour
kid.
going on. Whenever you're touring in person, what are some of your favorite venues and towns to perform in? Because you've kind of got, I asked this to a lot of Texas artists who just mainly stay in Texas, and from coast to coast, you've seen a lot.
Yeah, man. I've seen, Rockwood Tavern in New York, Tractor Tavern in Seattle. The Troubadour in Los Angeles. San Antonio would be God, what I love playing San Antonio. Forest Country Store, of course. Green Hall, Billy Bob's. I would say, and on Lower Greenville. What's that theater? I love that theater that's there. Paramount Theater, Austin. Houston's got to be, the Firehouse, but they're not really playing much music anymore.
Yeah.
I would say more of Heights Theater. There's just some great places where there's good audiences that people want to see you play.
This is a huge jump in subject matter, but you mentioned Austin and theaters, and last night while I was working out, I was actually listening to the Spotify list of Nick Swartzen's last Austin recording he did. And I remember there's been pictures of y'all partying together. How did you meet Nick Swartzen? I meant to ask that earlier.
So, through Ginny, we've hung out quite a bit. When he was in Houston, we went and ate chicken wings and watched the Vikings together. And he used to hang out at a bar called, what's that place called? It's over on Santa Monica, Barney's Beanery. And that was his hometown bar that he would watch the Vikings at. And then I would go down there and always see him. So we always bumped into each other. And we're best friends through Ginny. So we became friends. I only talk to him once a week or once a year. Don't get to hang out as much, but he's pretty famous, and he's in there with Sandler and them too. So
he's hilarious. I would not recommend listening to him while working out, folks, because if you're halfway through a bench press rep and he says something like the "who farted" joke, it's I'm gonna drop this on myself laughing. But
he's pretty funny.
I kind of ask these big three questions of everybody. If you could collaborate with anyone out there, who would it be?
Bruce Springsteen.
Nice. If you could headline any venue, where would you go?
Carnegie Hall.
Oh, that's a good one. Actually, no one has said that on here yet. And what is the funniest or craziest story you can tell from your music career so far?
I woke up on a tour bus and I walked into the hotel to get my hotel, and the girl behind the desk says, you have 5 dicks drawn in your face. And I was like, do I? Okay. So I won't tell you whose tour bus, but I fell asleep on a tour bus and we drove through the night. And that's what happened.
At least it was before you were on stage.
Yeah, an hour before.
Honestly, I think mine would actually be at that brunch we were at about a year ago at the Independence Day, but I'll tell that story another time.
Okay, all right. For round 2, Garrett.
There you go. Awesome. Well, Rich, I appreciate you coming on this thing. I know you got a busy schedule with this album coming out, and I think we're all ready to hear it. And what song should we close this thing out with?
The new album, man. Close it out with New York City. I'll send you the preview track link.
Cool. Y'all, this is New York City off the new album, and you've been listening to Rich O'Toole on the Garrett Smith Podcast. Rich, thank you so much, man.
Thank you, brother. Be safe.
Got a boy going insane, this wild ride that they call fame. Put out my